Hello, my loves, and welcome to EQ with Jah. So today I want to talk about something that every single human being deals with every single day, and that's what we have are these emotional arguments between what we think is this physical form and some mental being that we're talking to. And we always look at it sometimes from the top down as like the brain talking to the body and the body talking to the brain. And this is true in essence, but as we learn the halves of ourselves, which is the masculine and feminine energies of the logical left brain and the feminine right brain, which is the creative energy and creation space, those are the ones who are speaking to each other. Those are the ones who are going back and forth between what we know is structurally possible from what we understand from the programming, and then emotionally what we know we can create, because we're not basing it on what's already been created. We're basing it on knowledge that comes from a space to give you these tools to understand that this is logic. Okay? So now when we know how to listen to these two interchangeably, we do not have mental arguments. How do we not become victim to this? I'll say that because honestly, a lot of people fall victim to this. They assume they're arguing with something that has control over them, when in reality, you wake up every day and you choose to eat whatever you eat. You choose to go wherever you go. You choose to be friends with whoever you choose. These are all the free will choices that the physical body is making based on its programming. If we program the mind to say, hey, logical left brain, I need this, and the right brain's like, no, we don't like that. Okay, well then that's when you find a compromise. You say, okay, well this is why we need it functionally. Why don't you like it? Because it doesn't look pretty. Okay. Well, I can agree that aesthetics matter. And so because you want something pretty, let's do something that's pretty but functional so we both get what we want. This is how you make logically emotional choices and emotional logical choices. Like they're both one and the same, but somehow we've convinced ourselves that they're separate, subjective and objective. Subjectively, everything starts within the understanding of I have to know how to cognitively reason between myself to come up with something that will vibrate and make the proper sounds to articulate the right words so that this recipient will hear it and understand that I agree with them, understand, or we're on the same page. This is what we've been trained to do inadvertently. This is all subconscious stuff, but if you really pay attention to how your parents argue. If you constantly argue within yourself, did your parents constantly argue as kids? And if you didn't see them argue, you felt their energy of distance when they were arguing. This is all absorbed into us children. We sit and stew in this energy. It's like, it makes me laugh when adults get to a certain age and they think like kids don't understand words. How do you think we learn words? We sit around absorbing everything that is said to us, and then we repeat it when we can master the articulation of the sound to pronounce the word so that people are like, yay, you said mommy, you said daddy. All they did was took the emotional awareness of seeing that you're like, blah, blah, blah. If you say this sound, I'll give you more of this type of affection. And the baby's like, yes, mama, dad. They're like, oh my God, they know who I am. They know who you were before they were born. Like, honey, come on, they come from you. But we do love to watch us learn. That is the best part of being human. We love to watch things learn. We love to know things. But at the essence of it, we love to watch things learn. Why do you think we love watching animal videos and baby videos and all that? Because it's new energy. And it's like, oh my God, like that's where we all started. Oh my God, like this is amazing. And then it's the reality of it's our job to protect them from learning the things that we learned that hindered our growing. And so it's really important to trace it back. Listen to yourself. It's not hard to do. We get so convinced about the things we know because I went to this school and I learned from this person and I would know it. I know, you don't know. Like I said, when you see a book say edition 1, edition 2, whatever, that's usually because they're like, I had to update something. Let me go in and even the dictionary gets updated, honey. You got new words coming in all the time and old definitions getting updated all the time. So this is the understanding of the human condition. We create everything that is going to make sense to us. And so if we choose to allow things that have hindered our ancestors' egos in the past, then that's your choice. I've told people, I don't sit around and talk to anybody about anything that has to do with race relations unless they really feel they need to talk about it. For me, myself, I'm so beyond this like level of 3D conditioning that I don't care. I've lived my entire life not worrying about not one race. I love all of them, but I've never sat around, what are the whites doing? What are the blacks doing? What are the Asians doing? Who does that? Who does that? You know what I mean? But there's people who do that. And I'm like, that's like saying what color paint of the houses have the same color paint. And then you go around the like world counting them. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? Like, who cares? We all have a house. It's a color, whatever. It is what it is. What matters is what's inside. So that's when you have to start learning how to foster not the identity that's been projected onto you, but foster the identity that is speaking to you all the time. Again, when you're a kid, you might not know how to put the title on what you're supposed to be and do, but you know the energy. You know how to create. You know how to imagine. It's like I was one of those kids where I thought I was weird because I didn't want to do sports. I didn't want to do other stuff. I did, stereotypes. I did theater and I did, band and orchestra and choir and I did stuff that allowed me to express the sounds and vibrations that like make me want to create. Like that's why the art is so beautiful, because it comes from the soul's remembrance of like, while we're functioning every day to be this thing that's learning through your body, I remember the time when I used to do this, and I remember the time when I used to be this, and oh, I remember the time when I had that. And so the body interprets those emotions into a chemical that makes it become a yearning for something that we've never had. It's always funny. There's a song like, how can you miss a love you never had? And it's like, but you can. It's like, how you desire to be loved, because that is passed down from our divine masculine and feminine energies, which are the accumulation of our ancestors. So if it makes it easier, it's the wants and needs of your mother and father from when they were children all the way down to when they were babies, coming from their parents, our grandparents, then to our great-grandparents. And then it keeps going on and on and on. And that desire of remembering what love feels like, what love needs to be. There's also that moment of when you've never had love, it becomes the opposite polarity of hate, which is, if I've never had it, well, then I'm going to try to make it this other thing, while still seeking a form of love. Here's the thing, love created it all. That's why the heart is so important. Like the yin and yang of both of them. It's the dark side that becomes the thing that has to come into the light, because it's a concentrated ink. It's the ink that we use in the white space to draw onto the palette. So when you really pay attention to, I use this concentrated ink, whatever it is, it's what gives the contrast to life for me to see who I actually am. So when you argue with yourself, where are you going? It's not reasoning. I'm telling you this right now. You're not being reasonable when you argue with yourself. It makes no sense. Who are you arguing with? You know what I mean? The soul and the ego are literally one and the same. They're literally just intertwined with each other. And that's why one is free-flowing and always feels like it's off in the air. I'm a left-handed person, so trust me, I got the double whammy. I'm left-handed, I'm gay, I'm black, I'm tall, I'm pretty. I'm not modest. I'm all these things that I was told by society, though. You know, I got to a point where I used to feel bad about the, like, oh, somebody's like, oh, you're attractive. And I'm like, oh, no. And they're like, no, I appreciate it. And then when I appreciate it, people are like, ooh, you cocky. And it's like, yep, I'm cocky, whatever. Because you gave me this label. So am I not supposed to own it? You know what I mean? So this is where we have to learn how to, I don't fight anything that the outside world tells me because it's not for me to fight. Resistance creates a wall, which creates a doorway, which creates a home for all that doubt to live. And I ain't got time for it. You're not living here with me. You can go do somewhere else. The door is open. You can come and go as you like, Fear. And Fear's like, what? You're not afraid of me? For what? I've seen you before. You ain't that scary. You'll be gone soon. Fear always runs away. Love stays, honey. So you have to remember this always. When you hear something inside of your head saying, don't do it. And you're like, but why? Okay, go for it. Find out what happens. You're still that child who needs to see if it's hot. Find out if it's hot or not. Okay? But eventually the soul's like, okay, so are you old enough now and mature enough to do the soul work that we were supposed to do? And then remember this. Remember this. You don't have to be rude, but ego, body. You can talk back to the soul. The soul is not above you. That's when you say, hey, soul, from what I understand how reincarnations work, you're back here because you have some work to finish. So the soul's like, oh, I didn't see that. Wow, you are ready. And then that's when you activate your fun imagination and your divine masculine and feminine can play with each other. When you're at the level of like, oh, you gonna call me out, I'm gonna call you out, but I appreciate the call out because you're right. That's when you're like, yes, that is sexy. When you can find that partner who's like, I'm giving you this information because I want to help you, not because I want to control you. That is sexy as hell. And when you can do it for yourself and make logically based decisions that will help your emotions feel at ease, and you can make emotional, here's the thing, let me rephrase it. When you learn how to not react right away, this is the feminine respecting the masculine. You know how you say words that your mouth can't catch? Okay, that's disrespecting the masculine because now the masculine got to go defend themselves from some crap that you popped off about that you wasn't ready to back up, right? But then also there's times where you're supposed to speak up, but the masculine doesn't want to feel ostracized. So they're like, I'm not going to say nothing this time. And that feminine is like, no, say something. And you're like, no. And when you do that to the feminine, when you shut the feminine down, oh, see, it's deeper than that. Now the feminine feels shut down, but the feminine is also the mother of the heart. And the mother of the heart belongs to our God, which is our inner child. And the God in us, the creator of all of this. And so when you tell the inner child, no, guess what we do? We go back into a world of, oh, this always happens to me. I don't have a voice. I can't speak up. And then we start fighting with our inner self as if it's their fault. This is all about communication. When you learn how to communicate with yourself, I promise you, you have less arguments in your mental world, in your physical world, in your emotional world, because you have to check in with each other. It's the same thing when it comes to when you see couples where like one's, you can tell is supposed to be the big protector and one's smaller, but usually the one who's smaller got the biggest mouth because they feel protected. And the one who's bigger, they're just like, hey, I don't want to do this, but don't act stupid. This is what they represent as far as masculine and feminine in the physical form, but also what masculine and feminine is in our emotional world. So when you embrace these two halves equally and adequately all the time, listening to them, the body's like, I need you to do this. I need you to eat this way. To do it. The emotional world's like, hey, I need you to, do this more and talk to me more about this and really think this out more. Do it. Because then guess what? You're hearing the person you're meant to be with romantically. You're hearing the type of tribe you're supposed to attract. And then you start calling in the world that's meant for you. So learn how to balance your energies by emotionally regulating what you're telling yourself through the mental arguments. That's when you say, wait. And I call mine, because I'm a man biologically, I call my energy she. So that's helped me because like, even though I'm gay, it's still a she. And it's like, hey girl, what's up? What you need? You okay? And she's like, I'm good. It's like, all right, I love you. And we good. And that's what we do to make that synergy and the constant counterbalance of true epicinity. All right. I love you guys as always. Check me out on all my social media platforms. Besos. Mwah.